Alrighty, here I am on my covered front porch on a rainy day, hanging out with my fishing floats that my husband likes to use as decoration in our coastal community. This video is the other part to share with you another tool that you can use when you find yourself in the whirlpool of worry, when you find yourself having, getting sucked into like those looping patterns, especially if you start, really feeling like you're noticing a lot of like worst case scenario kind of stuff. And when we're imagining like worst case scenarios, there is this part of us that feels like somehow if we're imagining all these, like all the ways that it could go wrong, then, somehow we're preparing ourselves for that. And, there might be like a bit of truth in that for sure. However, what I see a lot of the time is that it can be so anxiety producing, and we can get so overwhelmed by these worst case scenarios that it actually has the opposite effect, and it can be quite paralyzing, where we get so overwhelmed that, and can start to succumb to the belief that like there's nothing that we could possibly do because it's such an overwhelming problem. And then that doesn't actually help solve anything, right? So, and it also like keeps us in that part of our brain, that like fight or flight loop that really takes offline the part of us that has access to solutions and to creative problem solving and that kind of thing. And so, I invite you that you can harness the energy of worry. Like there's an energy underneath that worry that's like prompting you to want to do something about it. And so I invite you that as you feel that energy of worry come up, and if you notice yourself like starting to think of like all these different ways that things could go bad, or even all these different ways that things are currently bad, if you're just really noticing something that's not working. And P.S., we all have way more brain space dedicated to notice what's not working rather than what is working. And so this can actually take some conscious effort to take a pause on the what's not working, worst case scenario loop, and reorient and harness that energy towards like this other tool that now I'm talking about, which is giving yourself permission to imagine what the best case scenario might be. And maybe even what like 20 best case scenarios might be, what's like a whole variety of best case scenarios, or even if it's like not the ultimate best case scenario, what might be like a pretty close to best case scenario? What might be a pretty great scenario that could happen? And this isn't about like spiritual bypassing. It's not about negating like the wrong things that are going on, or the bad stuff, or the stuff that is causing you to worry. It's not that at all. This is specifically to help you start to orient more towards solutions and towards like what you can actually do about it, so that it can feel doable enough that you actually do take some action. So in this way, it's actually a way more productive use of that energy of worry than it is just by like letting yourself be in the whirlpool of worrying about what the worst case scenarios are. And so another thing that I absolutely love about this is that when we take a moment to imagine like, okay, well, what might be some, surprisingly good ways that this could turn out, or what might be the best case scenario, it helps to clarify that for us of like what it is, like what's our vision of it actually working out. And then once we can kind of see that picture of like how it might actually work out, that gives us a lot more clarity around how there might be some things that we could do that would help to support that. Or we might be able to like connect with somebody that we know that would help us be able to get there faster, or, whatever it is. It's like, it's when we're just thinking about the worst case scenario, we get into this loop where it's a lot of like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that to happen either. And so it's all about what we don't want. And then that forces us also into this, like, don't take any action about it, because it's like, oh, we don't want this and that and the other. It's like, it's all about the, not, which is really hard for us to actually like take any forward momentum on. So to be able to move through that worry and to be able to like actually help yourself to like be proactive and actually do something about it, it can be so so helpful to really start to give some airtime to like what might the best case scenario be. And this is a really fun one to try with friends. And especially, if you notice, as so many of us do, I'm not immune to it myself. So, but certainly since I've started applying this tool, it's really transformed things for me. And it's really empowering and also very uplifting. And especially when there are so many things to worry about in the world, it is so helpful to have more things to be uplifted by and to feel empowered to actually be able to make positive changes in your own life and in the world. And so when we actually engage this with conversation, it's like, I'm so curious, the next time, you either hear yourself complaining about something or you start to really like hear yourself even in your own mind, looping into like worst case scenarios and like all these different ways that things could go bad. Or you hear somebody else, like, one of your friends talking in that direction, I invite you just to take a moment with each other and just like imagine, like, okay, like, yes, all those bad things, that's one possibility. And, what might another possibility be? If we even just let ourselves imagine it, like let there be space for it. So I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite concepts about worry in general is that worrying is like rocking on a rocking chair where it gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. All right. So as always, if ever you want to talk about this with me personally, I'm super here for it. I love talking about this stuff. And so you can comment below. You can also email me, dove@meadowdove.ca. And let's keep this conversation going. I would love to hear how it works out for you. If you give this a try, I would love to hear how it works out for you. And there is another corresponding video to this one, so I invite you to check that one out as well. The 3 M's of meaning, which is another lifesaver to help get out of the whirlpool of worry. And wherever you are, I hope you are having a beautiful day, and I am beaming you so much love. Mwah!